Hi everyone, I'm Martin and welcome to another great edition of Astronomy for Beginners. And today I'm a bit excited because what's arrived through the post is this. This is what I've ordered from Astronomy 365, and basically I got this really quick, ordered it, cost me around about £168, and I'm really chuffed to bits already how quick they reacted on sending this item to me. Now, as you can see, it comes in a big large box and well packaged. I've took most of the packaging out anyway, but I do like how they sent me Astronomy 365. They sent me this little instruction manual. Okay, 4 pages, two pages of back to front of good advice on there. However, if you're like me and you don't like reading too much stuff on manuals, I say if you're a man, I just crack on, ignore the rules and just get it all set up. I'm a big believer in that. I only refer to the manual when I really need to, if I'm really struggling. Apparently this is quite difficult to set up, but I'm going to prove a point to you guys and girls that setting up a tent is very easy, particularly if you've got a nice day like this and it's not windy. So we're going to get out of the box, throw the box away and the instructions, we don't need that. And basically what I do like about it is it comes with its nice old bag, quite big, quite a lot of ample of room as well. So usually you get a lot of tent bags and they're really quite packly tight to put all your tents and all that. However, this has got plenty of room so you can fold away the tent and all that. The good thing about this tent is that it has a 3000 micrometer waterproof tent, and being an astronomy tent is that you can roll it all out. I like how it's all packed up. It's got 4 poles, extendable carbon fibre poles, all packed in there. These look like tent pegs. Very good quality tent pegs as well, with the corkscrew in there. Now, the tent consists of a few parts of the tent, and this is the top half, because the whole idea of this tent, it's not just your normal tent, but this is a tent that you can actually take away the roof, and you can have your telescope or your imaging rig set up inside your tent, and when it rains you can put the hood over and will protect all your equipment. So basically you can sleep in this tent inside this for quite some time with all your telescope equipment and your cameras and all that. It is a temporary observatory type tent as well. So basically you can live in this tent. You can have 2 people in there because there's enough room, because the tent extends to about 2.8 meters, so it's quite large and you've got an ample amount of room. So good quality tent, and the good thing about this tent is that this is the Mark II variant, because the Mark 1 didn't have a roof that you could waterproof it. It was basically just flat. On this tent, this has a roof that you can add more poles, and once you extend the poles it will create a natural roof, so you can actually fit bigger telescopes like a 12-inch Dob in there, not a problem. And again, if you've got bigger setups, I think this is a good observatory tent. So we're going to roll it all out. The good thing about this tent is being quite waterproof to about 3000, which is a really good quality waterproof tent. Again, it is your typical nylon type tent. It's also got inside here, it does have its own liner inside. And this is the roof. We'll put the roof to one side, and what we're going to do is we're going to put the poles in place. So we've got 7 long poles in different sizes. Sometimes it's got me a bit complicated, but what I'm guessing is that the 4 ones are going to be the sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the 4 ones that are similar size, and we'll just get rid of the small one and the uber long one. So we'll get rid of these out of the way. And another short one. So this leaves 4 medium ones. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put the medium ones together. So what I've noticed here is we're going to feed the tents through this canvas. There's like a little pocket here, a sleeve, so you slide it on first. Okay, so I'll give us my front base. These bend over, so you bend them over and you get them once you start feeding them through. It's a bit weird how this is assembled. I've just noticed that the tent will have to feed slightly opposite to opposite. So I'm guessing here. Because I noticed there's a place to put the poles there as well, but apparently that's wrong, so you've got to step it back a touch. Then take your time. Okay, we've got a bit of a door. Okay, I'm going to feed the next medium cable from here through this pocket. So there's another pocket here, or sleeve. We just feed the sleeve over nice and easy. Okay, there's another one, another sleeve here. Again, feed that through. Don't force it or you'll rip it. You don't want to rip the tent. So just gentle tweaks. Okay. Okay. So hook it onto the bottom place and we just gradually feed that through. Again, same detail. Okay, we're starting to get a bit of a shape now. Start putting the next one. Now, the one thing I've noticed about this tent is these crisscross. So it is actually a good design because this will be quite strong against strong wind. So it's a bit weird at first because you have to crisscross each of the sections, which at first makes it a bit confusing to get your head round. But once you've got the basic shape on there, it starts to get easier. So now this is the first time I've assembled this tent, so to be honest with you, I've not had any practice. I've basically just gone straight into it. It does say in the manual to make sure someone gives you a hand with this tent, but personally To be honest with you, it's always best to do this tent yourself, because there'll be times where you're not going to have anyone around you, especially when you're observing. So again, this is weird because it's sort of intercross each other, right? And I'll explain it once I've got this side assembled. Again, just gentle persuasion through the sleeves. Right, you've got 2 sets of sleeves on each side, okay, of the 4 corners. So you just feed them in first, okay. And then we put it on its anchor point. Okay. So on one of its anchor points, you can see here the sections cross each other, so it makes it quite strong. Okay, the tent's starting to take its shape. What I'm going to do is going to clip these plastic things. Okay, so try and keep it a bit rigid. So actually, once you've got the rough idea how it goes, it's actually quite easy to assemble. It's looking good already, and I like how there's ties. You can tie these joints together and make it a bit more rigid, but we won't do that yet. Right, we're starting to get a bit of a basic shape. We're going to put the last medium foam. Feed in the last 2 sleeves carefully. Okay, gentle persuasion, don't put too much stress. Okay, put it to the last anchor point. And then put on your nylon clips. Okay. Wow. Now, okay, I will tie these cross sections first, but look already, it's looking steady already. I'm quite impressed with that. But I noticed now, I can see why where the long one goes now. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed the long one all the way around. But I just need to figure out how the long one goes. So, in fact, here it is. You've got more sleeves at the inside. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sleeves. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to have to feed the long one around between those sleeves. So we'll feed it at the front end. Okay, so the first sleeve is here. So we feed in the first sleeve, bit by bit. Okay. The second sleeve here. Feed that through. Now if you're struggling, just grab one end, just gradually feed it through. Now I've noticed when you get to a certain point it might be a bit difficult to feed the rest through. So what I do is just push that back, Okay, and let's grab one side and see what happens. You just got to play about with it. I don't want if you try and bend the poles, just bend it slightly, don't force it, just gradually bend it in. You just feed back each side up. Okay, it's in the bit of the sleeve. Alright, and then drop your side. And then you join the two ends together, and there you go. That is now your shape. So what we're going to join up the notches here. You don't need to over tighten these, but just make sure that you get them with a couple of knots, not too tight. You know, it's just all you're doing is just joining the joints together, okay, to stop the rods from moving about too much. The good thing about this design, the Mark II, is that you can have the roof flat, or we're using those spare two poles over there. You can actually create a roof. Now that is, I think, is the better option, even though it takes a bit of time to assemble. This, when it's flat, this goes flat on this tent, but usually I don't recommend doing that, because when it rains, where's it going to go? And it can hold around about 40, maybe 50 litres of water, but personally I don't want a lot of water, because one, it will go through the tent at some point, and secondly is I don't want water near my telescopes. So the whole idea of the Mark II tent is that you can put the two poles across so that you can have a roof, and it will drip all the water out. Now if it gets really heavy, then I would advise that you put another second covering over the top of it, just to make sure if it's really heavy downpour. Okay, so looking at this tent, I can see where it's going to go. So you got to be careful now. I've got the roof on, and as you can see, I've got the straps in place. Alright, and they are velcroed. Right, there's velcro straps on either side. Alright, so make sure your velcro straps are in place and get it reasonably tight, not too tight that you rip the top cover. Okay, so you get it nice and flat. Unfortunately, I don't really like that. As you can see, when water gets on top of that, this will begin to sink. Also, another thing is, as we go inside the tent, you've got to make sure that the pole, the big pole, is velcroed in, because as you can see, if it's not velcroed in, this will sag. So you've got to make sure, like this one here, that's not in place. So make sure that you'll this pole is velcroed in, okay, quite well. Okay, so make sure that's strapped in place. Right, same on this side. Yeah, see how it goes in now better. So again, make sure that your velcro straps are in place to keep the central thing in, so it's not going to move about. Okay, so that's something to look into. Now in the manual itself, it's not really quite clear enough how it describes to put the posts in. Now I understand you've got to take the cover off, alright, and you need to place the poles. Now the two poles have to be cross-sectioned, so you cross each other, okay, to form a dome. But the one thing that's missing in that manual is it fails to describe where do those poles sit. Okay, and it seems like a daft question, but it's something that they need to get their instructions a little bit better. Is, I'm guessing the poles sit in these little pockets here, so they'll fit into that side, go all the way around in the dome, and fit into the other side. Okay. And you do the same for the other, and again have a cross section so they both cross each other. Tie it in with a piece of string or rope, whatever, to hold them in. Now I'll explain that a little bit once I've got them assembled, but you can see my idea. Now one thing I have noticed about these poles, that the roof poles have like a rubber bung. Now, and that's where I reckon that's where they'll fit. They'll fit in those little corner pockets, and that's where I reckon they will go. And again, it's same for the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly put these on. Now as you can see here, the crisscross, bit of fabric. Okay, so you've got your poles either side, and you can see where the rubber bungs will sit in these corners. Now they look adequate. They look like they can hold the weight, but I reckon they should make these a little bit stronger, I reckon. Okay, especially when rainwater gets on the top of that. But I reckon it's quite strong anyway, and it will, as you can see, it's actually given me an extra foot actually from above. I mean, I'm 5'11", and this is just on my head, so there's quite a bit of space there. So again, I'm 5'11", and my head just touches there. Okay, so that's quite high up. So again, if you're a short person, this tent will just dwarf you. But however, for a tall person, I mean, this is just touching my head, so there's loads of room. So what we're going to do now, once these have inlined, you then drape over the actual roof. So the roof is draped over and it's secured. Okay, as you can see here, it's all tight now. All the Velcro patches are in line. Okay, it's quite easy once you get the tension right. You can see there it's a good 5'10", 5'11" there, exactly. So there's plenty of room. Now as we can see, like I always do with all my video guys, I make sure that if whenever I show a presentation of a product, I always like to test it. I always like to make sure that whatever this tent is adequate for the job. Now as you can see here inside my tent, as we take a look, I have my Quattro with my EQ6 mount. I have got the largest telescope I have got, and believe me, straight away as we take a look inside, I've got loads of room to put all my kit, stuff for my power for my batteries underneath. Okay, the mount, as you can see, I've got a pier, so I've got an 8-inch pier, and so you see, as you can see, there's a lot of height. Now one thing I have noticed with this tent, if you're going to do any balancing, or when you're going to use a telescope, or you're going to set it up, particularly if you're going to put the tube in, it's the best off to take off the top cover and the roof, because believe me, it's actually quite difficult, especially if you want to do any balancing first. So once you get your telescope balanced and it's all set up, then you can put the roof over the top, and it doesn't take long to do that. Now you will get, I've noticed without a roof, you will get some pockets here, but it's more than adequate. As long as it keeps the water out, it's fine. So I think there's a main reason behind that, to make it breathable through the tent, so you can breathe through the tent. I will be putting a waterproof cover over the top of that, especially for extreme conditions. But as you can see here, now I've got all my kit in here. Technically I could actually have 2 people in here, so I have myself or my friend, whatever, or my wife. We'll quite happily go inside here. Alright, so I've got enough for 2 spaces, a chair, I can have my laptop in there, in that corner, all connected up, everything all running smoothly. It can handle quite a bit of equipment in there. I would say it will probably house maybe a 12-inch scat or Cassegrain, but anything bigger than 12-inch, then I think you're pushing the limits of this tent. But again, I've got my NEQ6 mount with the pier, and my biggest telescope I have around, and it's all housed in here. Now the ground sheet itself is okay. It's handled the weight, because there's a lot of weight on this telescope through the counterweights and all that. There's a good 40, maybe 50 kilograms already acting on this ground sheet. Now what I will do is, with my next investment, is to put another ground sheet on top of that, so I protect the original ground sheet. And I'm actually quite impressed, because as you can see, I've got a lot of space. You know, I'm going to have a large telescope protected, and the good thing about this tent is I can be able to sleep in this tent, and I know that my telescopes and my equipment are safe. It's near me. So again, as you see, you know, if I move all that equipment to one side, I can potentially get another person to sleep in at the other side. So again, loads of room. Like these zip over. Okay, they're double zipped. So you've got 4 entries and 4 exits. Alright, and you can just zip these over. Alright, and as you can see, really good. What we're going to do is I'm going to take off the roof, so you can then see how it looks from that angle. So there we have it. We've taken the roof off. It literally taken seconds to remove. Basically, you remove the outer cover first, tag that off, and it just whips straight through. And then with the cross section of your roof poles, they just pop out straight away. Alright, so it's so easy to take off the roof. Now as you can see, I've moved my 8-inch Quattro and my EQ mount into the home position, and as you can see, there's a good clearance there, good clearance gap. And don't forget, this mount is on a pier, so there's a good 8-inch height as well already on that mount. And as you can see, good amount of clearance. Alright, and again, the whole diameter is roughly about 2 meters diameter, so there's plenty of room space for even quite a large refractor. You know, a 4-inch or a 5-inch refractor will quite easily fit there. Even a long tube will do as well. So again, there's loads of space, and potentially you could actually have a 12-inch dob in here. But again, for this sort of setup, I mean, despite the space, you could actually have 2 telescopes in here if you could. Alright, you just have got to position them in a certain way. But again, one big setup like this is probably pushing it. So again, this whole setup, you know, is really ideally, if you're going to have a large telescope, 8-inch up to a 12-inch Cassegrain or reflector will do. And as you can see, there's tons of space. Alright, even with a large instrument like this. I was going to get my 115 Apple refractor on there, but I thought no, just use the reflector, the biggest one I've got. And as you can see, loads of space to play about with. I mean, ideally you could use 2 small refractors in there if you've got enough space, but that's more than for that tent really. But again, for a tent that's specially designed for astronomy, you know, and to be honest with you, looking, I mean, there are a few improvements they should make to this tent. I mean, I think they should need to put more Velcro straps for here. I also think they need to improve these pockets here for your roof to be a bit more robust. But overall, I mean, this is the Mark II variant, so there's a massive improvement. And as you can see, and if I give this a good shake, you know, it's quite sturdy as well. You know, because there's a lot of cross sections in there. And one thing I really think they should also improve is put some where these toggles are, is provide some like storm straps to strap it down for in case the weather gets a bit too rough. So that's another improvement they could do. But however than that, for a tent like this, it's pretty impressive. It's so easy to set up, but once you've figured out how it goes, it's actually quite easy to assemble. And don't forget, I've only assembled this first time ever. I've not had any practice. This is literally straight out of the box. And I just wanted to just prove to you guys and girls that you can actually set this tent quite easily without having to faff about. And as you can see, this fits in my garden, and this is quite a large tent, and this is a small garden. and I have 2.8 meters at the bottom base and 2 meters on the roof part. And again, I like how it's quite high enough, so it's going to give me good protection from the wind. So I'm not going to get any dew problems. It'll reduce the dew, it'll reduce the vibrations on the mount from the wind and the elements. So again, for £169, I would seriously recommend this tent. For the price you pay, you know, and the fabric on the actual material itself being a 3000 waterproof, which is good for that tent, I think it's well worth the money. Despite the improvements, the next improvements I would do is I will get some storm straps down, and I will put a decent ground sheet on there, just to protect the original ground sheet, so I don't actually knacker it in any other way. But apart from that, it's got some nice touches. I do like the green, because at the end of the day the green looks tactical, alright, and it makes this setup look really awesome. And if you've one of these astronomers who don't have their own OPSI, I've got my own temporary OPSI that's taken me 10-15 minutes to set up. That's including the telescope and everything else. Alright, and I'm good to go. And again, this is only a temporary shelter, so it's not going to be there all the time. Alright, but like a couple of months or so, you can have this erected and leave it there for a month, and it should protect your equipment. Providing you strap it down and you make sure the roof's secured properly, then you shouldn't get any problems. And again, I would seriously recommend anyone who doesn't have an OPSI, or they want a tent they want to take with them when they go stargazing into remote places around the world. Again, it's easily packable. So this is the complete setup, and as you can see, you've got your bag, your roof, actual tent itself, then you've got the bag with 8 of the decent pegs you get, then you get your 4 separate poles, and then you got your main roof, and then the 2 cross sections. Now as you can see there, top tip is you can recognize these poles as being the sides, and then these are the roof, and that's basically what I've done here, is just basically put a bit of fabric and all that and tie them together, so I know which is the roof part and which is the actual side parts. So just to remember, so when you're packing your tent away, you know, it's a good little arrangement there. Now as you can see, if you pack all your equipment away, the tent, all the pegs, all the poles and all that, as you can see here, everything's inside here, okay, and it's all, there's plenty of room, and if it's packed correctly, the manufacturers do state that you shouldn't put your poles and your tent pegs in this bag, but personally, if you pack it correctly and it's nice and neat, you shouldn't have any problems with it tearing. So it does state you shouldn't really put your poles in there, but if you pack it correctly and it's further away, then there shouldn't be any problem. And as you can see, plenty of gap, okay, I can get everything in there, no problems. So again, a 4 kilogram bag, that's all it is, and it has your tent and everything you need in there, okay, in one place, so you're not going to lose any of your pegs or if you forget something. So again, I thought I'd just show you that as well. Again, thanks for watching. Please feel free to comment in this video. If there's anything you like to say or anything like that, just please ask. Also, we're also available on the Astronomy for Beginners Facebook page. You can find us here on this link, okay? And if you like watching my videos and you like what you see, please subscribe onto my channel, okay? Just click there, click the subscribe button, and again, thanks for watching, and clear skies to you all.